Now let's talk about missing flights, because well, this happens, and what do? You don't want to lose all your money, right? If you think you are going to miss your flight, you think you're going to be late, the first thing you should do is call the airline. They could potentially put you on another flight if they're able to resell your seat. But if you just show up late and missed it, you didn't give them an opportunity to fill that empty seat. In likelihood, they just flew that plane, nobody in that seat. Number two is, if you're running late and you arrive to the counter and you miss your flight or you're not going to make it, be very, very nice and polite to the flight attendants, to the people checking you in. I've made this mistake before in the past, just being, frazzled, and don't take your anger out on them because they will just not help you. Also, don't be like, I slept through my alarm, stupid me. No, don't be doing that because they're not going to care. What you should say is something like, there was a bunch of traffic outside, maybe I got a flat tire, something related to the airport. It was difficult to get through the gate or difficult to get to the checkout counter. Kind of blame it on that, even if it's not exactly truthful. Just don't put it on like you slept through your alarm, because no one's going to help that. Make it more of an airport issue. If you miss a connecting flight, but it's through the same airline, don't worry. They will put you on another flight, and actually, if it's a really long wait until the next flight, they might even give you a food token. They'll give you a stipend and you can go buy food from the food court for free because of their inconvenience. So never worry about that. What you do need to worry about is if you're booking connecting flights on separate airlines, and I really don't think you should do that. You never know what's going to happen. Flights can be delayed more than a day. The airport could close. There's so many things that could happen, and maybe it was cheaper to do it that way, but then something unexpected happened and now you're going to be paying thousands of dollars. So it's definitely not cheaper anymore. I pretty much never do this. I did do it once, and that one time almost missed my flight, and it was a bad one. I was flying from Peru to Los Angeles, 3 flights on one airline, and then I was flying from LA to Bali on another airline, and that's, that's really far and really expensive if you miss it. Well, guess what? My very first flight leaving Peru was canceled, and so I'm in panic mode. I just missed the first flight of like 5 for that day, so I went to the checkout counter, really nice, and I asked them, I need to be somehow put on another flight. I have another connection, but on a different airline, and it's across the world, so can you please help me? And they did. They actually put me on another airline. I arrived 40 minutes earlier than I was expected to, and I made that connection. So, like I said, just being nice. If you do miss your flight, you're not entitled to compensation, but you might be entitled to get the tax back. It's not necessarily a lot, but it could be up to 25%, so it's better than nothing. Let's talk about accommodation issues. I recommend when you are staying anywhere in the world to be booking through third-party sites. Now, it's funny because I don't recommend that for flights. Flights, I think you should book directly through the airline, but for staying in places abroad, I think third-party sites like Booking.com, Hostelworld, Airbnb, and I say this because sometimes there can be issues, whether they don't have your booking, it's not up to par, it doesn't look like the pictures. Sometimes they're not really willing to help you, and now you've spent all this money and there's no customer service to give you back your refund, what you deserve or whatever. You could just have issues. We actually stayed in this hotel in Malaysia when we were volunteering, and we wanted a nice fancy getaway, so we got a luxury suite that wasn't so luxury. It looked pretty, but everything was falling apart. Bathroom was broken, bed was broken, TV was broken, like everything was broken. It just looked nice. I took pictures and I went and showed the front desk. I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't care. I wish that they would have accommodated something or given us a discount or our money back or something, but they didn't care. I guess I could write a bad review, but that's not really gonna do me any good personally. But if you book through these third-party sites, they will help you and they will evaluate the issue, probably give you your money back. For example, Airbnb. Let's say you stay in a place and it sucks, or the host is really bad. You have back and forth drama, so you can talk to Airbnb about this. They're gonna evaluate both of you. The thing is, they hold the money, they withheld it from the host until you finish your stay. So if Airbnb decides that you are right and that the host failed, then they're gonna give you back your money. But if you went directly to the place, they're probably not gonna give you back the money. I also had an issue in Cambodia. We went in to book a hotel on foot. We talked to somebody there, we gave them our passports, we even put a down payment, and we booked this hotel for 2 weeks. And they said, okay, everything's done, but it's not available tonight, so starting tomorrow you have it for 2 weeks. Come in the next day, they can't find our booking. We told them that we talked to this guy and he set it up, and they're like, there's no one like that who works here. I still don't know what happened, like if some random guy just sat at the front desk or if they're pulling one on us. Bottom line is, they said they didn't have our booking, and we were there the night before, and they said they were completely booked and we couldn't stay. People came in right after us and were, taken care of and found a room. So I don't know what that is. Those people had booked it online. We booked it in person, so I just kind of was like, well, I guess we should have booked it online. Although sometimes when you do book in person, you will save money because you can usually negotiate the price. Personally, I just don't think it's worth it. For example, booking.com, you don't even have to pay right away. You can pay when you get there. So if it's a crappy place, I'm not staying here, and then you don't have to pay. Now this topic, I don't necessarily have that much experience with, but I do a little bit. So I'm talking about things like volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, anything that can go wrong, fires. When I was in Bali, I did experience one earthquake, actually on my birthday. I didn't feel it though. I'm a very heavy sleeper and I slept through it, but my boyfriend and my best friend did. Actually, what they do in Bali when there's an earthquake is everybody comes out into the courtyard and they all start screaming in Balinese, "I'm alive, I'm alive," so that it like trickles down to the other houses like a waterfall effect. They know who is in trouble and they know everybody's okay. So yeah, I felt the first earthquake in Bali before like all the other ones that came after it. It was the one that hit Lombok, a 6.4 magnitude, really wrecked that island. And even though that's not Bali, Bali's right off of it, so we felt it. Thankfully we didn't have too much to worry about, but the people in Lombok did. So here's what you should do for starters to be prepared in case anything happens. Number one, make sure you have access to international calling. And this can apply to everything I talk about today. Make sure you have both travel and health insurance, because this is the type of situation you're gonna need it. Make sure that your family or friends have copies of your passport, visa pages, and itinerary. This just will make it really easy for them, or easier, in case they need to be an advocate for you, need to know where you are, need to submit papers, whatever, to get you the help that you need. Make sure to familiarize yourself with local conditions and local laws. It's always a good idea to have the local embassy, the phone number in your phone, just in case something happens. So let's just pretend the worst happened. You're in an emergency situation. What do you do? So for starters, you need to evaluate if you are in a safe area. So if you're back at the hotel and it's safe, okay, good, stay there. If you're out and about, find a place, shelter where it's safe and there are people and you can be protected. If you are close to an embassy or consulate, go there. If it hasn't been damaged, you can go there and you can get support, food, shelter, and they can also help you to getting back home. If you cannot reach this, then look for law enforcement, look for medical personnel, look for people that can help you and direct you. What do you do, especially if you're injured? Once you are safe, the first thing you want to do is communicate to everybody you know that you are safe. One, for other people freaking out, and two, in case you need more help, in case you need something, if you're injured or with the extent of your injury, you need to explain that in case you need more help or what it is you need to do going forward. I've heard that sometimes in these situations, making phone calls will be very difficult, probably because everybody's calling in panic, and that texting will actually be easier and you might get through better. So that could be something to know. If your calling is not working, like try sending a text. But hopefully none of this stuff does happen to you. Every situation is different. These are just some preventative things you can do, and then what you can do if you're caught up in this situation. Let's say that you get lost or stranded somewhere in a foreign country. This has happened to me actually right when I started traveling. I feel like I made a lot of mistakes when I first started traveling. I've gotten better. But I actually got stranded in Costa Rica in the middle of the jungle. I find when you are in these kind of frantic panic situations and you're with another person, one person takes the role of panicking and freaking out, and the other one takes the role of, okay, calm, we need to do this, we need to do this, this is how we're gonna get out of this. In this particular scenario, the friend I was with was panicked beyond belief. She was crying, she was freaking out, she wasn't gonna have enough food. This girl ate all the time. She was like, oh my God, we're not gonna have food and water. I was the one who was remaining calm, and I was like, okay, we're gonna look for cars, we're gonna hitchhike. I never hitchhiked before, but we're gonna hitchhike, we're gonna get out of this situation. This is really good because it's good to kind of have the panic person to kind of motivate the other person to be like, okay, this is what we're gonna get done. In Mexico, I was the panicker and my boyfriend was the one who was more calm. But yeah, in these situations, if you see people, you need to ask for help. If you are lost, I mean, this is why it's important to have offline maps. Otherwise, look for taxis, public transit, look for any kind of public area. You could try hitchhiking. I know not everybody's comfortable with that and it's not always the safest option, but you gotta just evaluate the situation and really just try to remain calm, because if you're panicked, you're not gonna make proper decisions. And then after the fact, you'll realize what you did wrong or right, and you can hopefully not make the same mistakes. This last one is kind of only applicable to people who volunteer. I'm talking about this because this is how I used to travel, was just volunteering, because then I could have this amazing local experience, and then usually it was in exchange for food and accommodation. I did this a lot, but it wasn't always the best experience. And what I mean by this is that sometimes those volunteer opportunities take advantage of you, and maybe they're asking more work of you, or even asking you for money, or making you do all these things that's not what you're supposed to be doing. And this is what you need to understand and put it through your brain. You have the power. If the person or the people you're working for are mistreating you, leave. Don't stay there. Don't put up with it, because it's not right. You can go complain to, if you use Workaway or HelpX or whatever site, Woofing, you can go complain to them, or you can write them a bad review, but you don't need to stay there and be taking in all the bad stuff that they're doing to you. Just walk up and go. You have the power. This is your travel experience. Again, this is kind of something just personal, but I've had a few situations where I was kind of taken advantage of. One of them, I felt bad about leaving, so I kind of stayed longer than I should have. The other one, I was like, absolutely not, I'm leaving. So understand you have the power to go and go. Before I end this video, I want to quickly give you some necessary apps that you should have while traveling, because it can help in all of these scenarios. Number one, offline maps. I use Maps.me, but make sure you download the actual map of the area. I tend to forget to do this, and then it's a useless map. Next app you should have is an app that you can use for international calling. This is super important. I use this a lot. I happen to use Skype, but you can use things like Viber and WhatsApp. This is useful for a lot of different things. Calling your bank if you're in trouble. Number three, I recommend having the app of your bank so that it's easy to log in. You can be monitoring your transactions, and then also, at least for my bank, they have an option for manage your travel plans. So every time I go to another country, I can quickly just post, I'm going to be in this country from this time, and then I won't have any issues when I go to use my card in that country. Another app that may be important, not always, is a translator, depending on your preferences, but a translator can be very necessary at times. I also recommend having VPN. I used to only use VPN when I lived in China because it was necessary, but now I honestly use it kind of all the time, even though I haven't been in China in months, just because I don't trust these Wi-Fi networks. The last app that I recommend, but it's not mandatory, is speed tests. Speed tests can be important because you can test the speed of the internet when you go to places, finding out the upload or the download speeds. And this can be important because maybe you need to contact somebody or do something, and you go to this cafe and the internet sucks, and you already ordered everything, and now you're like, crap, what do I do now? So before even sitting down, you could do a quick little speed test and find out the speed, see if it works properly. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. I really hope that you found this video helpful, or maybe you learned something. Don't be like, oh my gosh, all these bad things are gonna happen. Just because you're traveling doesn't mean it's gonna be any safer or any more dangerous than it is back where you're from. So just be prepared and enjoy it. I mean, all of these scenarios happened to me, except for the abduction one and kind of the natural disasters, and I still travel. I still love traveling. This is life. Life sucks sometimes, but then life is also great. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to subscribe if you like my videos. You can follow my Instagram if you want to see pictures, and I will see you next time. Bye.
In the day I met you, I think I met myself. I don't ever wanna be with anyone else. We got the kind of story that the stories would tell, different than I've ever felt. And I know we've got our whole lives, no ending this inside.